Hello, music lovers of the world. Welcome to episode 47 of What Makes This Song Special. The show where every week I take a different song, I tell a wee story about what makes it special to me. Usually I would go into a little bit of a breakdown about the song and the singer. I'm not going to do that this week. I'm just going to tell you the story and then I'll have a wee click at the end where you can click away and head over to see me do my own version of today's song. So, I'm going to take you back to January 2012. I'd just turned 30 at the time, a milestone birthday. My gift from my wife Lynn's and my two brothers Dario and Luciano was a trip to a Juve game at the then brand new Juve Stadium. Now I've been a Juve fan since I was 8 years old, living in Italy during the 1990 World Cup, and I first saw Roberto Baggio play for the national team. Robbie Baggio moved to Juve after that World Cup, and he made me a Bianconeri fan for life. To be fair, my dad's also a Juve fan, so I probably would have become a Juventino anyway, but I'd never managed to get to see them play at the stadium until this opportunity arose at 30 years old. This would be my first ever Juve game. And the reason for this was that, one, when I lived in Italy, when I was younger, we stayed in Lazio, which is hours and hours and hours away from Turin, where Juve play. Two, when we went on holiday, most summers, when I did move back to Glasgow in Scotland, we would go to Italy a lot, but a lot of the time when we went to Italy, it was in the summer. The season was finished or not started yet, depending on how you look at it. And three, I just never had the money for those types of luxuries when I was younger. You know, flights, accommodation and a ticket for a game to Juventus from Scotland would have cost hundreds and hundreds of pounds. So this was my first opportunity. I was gifted this amazing experience for my 30th birthday. I was really excited. And I really appreciated the thoughtfulness of the gift, especially from my brother Dario, who's actually an AC Milan fan, for his sins. My youngest brother Luciano is also a Juventino like me, so he wasn't really making a huge sacrifice by agreeing to the trip. And it was also his first time seeing Juve at the stadium. For the three of us, it was a great opportunity for us to spend a weekend together. You know, a lot of the time we spent so much time together as kids, and we still see each other a lot. We all live quite near each other, but often when we get together, we're with other people, our wives and now wives and kids and all that type of stuff, and it just becomes harder to have just a conversation between three brothers. So we flew off to Turin for a bros weekend. None of the three of us had ever been to Turin before, so we were immediately blown away by the city. It's an amazing, beautiful city, really clean, incredible buildings, architecture, all the things that that Italy is synonymous for visually. We also had the other things that Italy is very famous for: amazing food, drink, coffee, cakes, pasta, meat dishes, pizza, vino, ice cream, all the stuff, that Italy is known for worldwide. So an amazing weekend. We had a couple of days. We flew out on the Friday, so we had the Friday night and the Saturday to kind of get some great food and all the things I mentioned there. And then we wake up on the Sunday morning for the game. And it was only then that I realised that I'd left my glasses, my spectacles, in Glasgow in Scotland. Now I don't really need glasses for most things. I wore them today just for the sake of the story. I don't often wear them. I don't really need them for many things. I actually only got them when I was about 21. I wanted to make sure I could read a registration plate from distance to pass my driving test, and it was borderline. So I got them for my driving test and really never wore them again. The only time that they come in handy is if I'm going to a gig, I'm going to the theatre, or I'm going to a football game. Because from distance things are a wee bit blurry. And at the awful prospect of going to my first ever Juve game and not being able to see the players clearly, I decided to go on a search for an optician in the city of Turin. So opticians aren't cheap anywhere in the world, and it was a Sunday in a country where almost everything closes for the day of rest, so it was a long shot. We were walking down the main pedestrian street in Turin where all the kind of shops and restaurants and bars are, which is called Via Garibaldi, I believe, and we're looking for an optician. And by some miracle on a Sunday morning, there was one open. We found an optician. I look in the window and I see all these Italian designer frames that cost hundreds of euros. And I think, oh God, and I was about to walk away. But the idea of going all the way to Torino to see the mighty Juve without being able to see them properly pushed me inside the shop. We started speaking to one of the opticians about my predicament, and the guy was really nice. He made me feel like he was going to find a solution for me, although I had that feeling in the pit of my stomach that he was maybe just about to rip me off. Anyway, we go into the wee room at the back, and they put me in front of I think it's called a phoropter, I think, the machine where they turn all the lenses to see which one helps you read the letters at the back of the room. Anyway, we get an idea of my prescription, and then he tells me to pick some frames. And I'm looking for the cheapest pair of frames because I already have an expensive pair of frames back in Glasgow, and I don't really need these glasses other than for one day. But the shop doesn't have any cheap pairs of glasses, so I grab the cheapest pair of spectacles that I can find, which are these kind of black rimmed specs, which had a €200 price tag on them. And I knew he still had to add on the eye test and the lenses. Just a nightmare. And then he leads me over to this wee desk in the corner where the cash till is. And this is where Italy just proves itself to be, for me, the greatest country in the world. It's just, I mean, it's got its problems. Italy has its problems. But there's just such a fun, laid back, some things are more important than money vibe and way of life in Italy. As well as all the things I mentioned before about how great it is for food and wine and architecture and all that stuff. But yeah, there's just this kind of laid back, relaxed vibe where people do, they'll rip off tourists and stuff, but I think that they're quite famous for ripping off tourists, especially in cities like Naples and things like that. But if you don't have, I think there's an old famous phrase in Naples. If they used to say, if you've got it, they'll take it from you, and if you've not got it, they'll give it to you. And I think that's like such it's a perfect way of looking at a lot of Italian culture. So anyway, he was very nice, the guy, and he takes me over to this wee desk. And this is where he kind of, as I was saying, this is where Italy just comes into its own, because he shows me this bit of paper that he's written the prices down, and he shows me the full price. So the full price is like 300 and something euros at the time. I was like, oh no. An expensive weekend away, which was supposed to be a treat where I wasn't supposed to be spending lots of money. And then he takes it back and he scores out the price of the lenses and the eye test. Very kind. And he says, "This is my holiday present to you." And I was like, "Oh, thank you so much. That's so kind." And then he takes the paper away again, and he gets his calculator, and then he scored out the price of the frames, and he says, "These are actually in the sale today, half price." And he scores that out, and he shows me the price now, and it's halved again, so we're down to like just over €100. And then he takes it back again for a third time, and he says, "You also get a Juventino discount," and he halves it again, and he gives me the final price. It was like €49, which guy he's a legend, just an absolute legend. Only in Italy, food, football, and family comes before anything. He gave me the glasses for €49 because, as a fellow Juve fan, he didn't want to see somebody come all the way from Scotland on a trip and not be able to see the game properly. So really kind, just a great guy. So we left there, we're buzzing. It had been a bit of a stressful start to the day. And my brothers had booked the tickets on, I think it was Viagogo, which meant we had to go and find. So how that works is like somebody who has maybe a season ticket will sell their tickets because they can't make it that day. And we had to go and find the guy. And he lived nowhere near where we were. So we were like jumping on buses and walking for miles through Turin trying to find this guy to get the tickets. And also just worrying that it potentially could have been a scam and we weren't going to find the guy with the tickets. But we did. We found him. We managed to get back. We got to the main square to get the bus to the stadium just in time. We managed to remember going back to get our passports as well, which we almost forgot because you need a passport to get into the stadium. And we finally get to the stadium, and it was amazing. It was like a cold January morning, but the sun was shining, the sky was blue, and we went inside the stadium. The first thing I remember, the stadium just inside was really steep and really, really loud. I think they designed the stadium with the kind of acoustics in mind so that it was just be like a kind of real fearful place for opposition to go. It's really loud. It just seems to carry the acoustics of the stadium, just carry the sound so well. So we get inside, we get a coffee, we get a beer, all the things. You can't really do that in football stadiums in Britain. You can't get a beer and a good coffee. You're not allowed to drink alcohol inside the stadiums. But over in Italy, we got a pint of beer. We got a halftime espresso, as you always do in Italy. We got some good food in the stadium. Again, most stadiums you go to worldwide, the food is dreadful. We got panini and slices of pizza, and it was decent. It was really good. The atmosphere was phenomenal. And then, we took our seats and we sat down to watch the game. And I remember this song plays, and this is where the song comes in. And it was the Juve Storia di Grande Amore song. And I recognised it, so I've probably heard it when I'm watching games on the TV, but it's sort of in the background when you watch games on the TV. I'd never really heard the song properly. And the song comes on and everybody, they stop at the chorus and the whole stadium sings the Juve chorus, and the atmosphere was amazing. I had like goosebumps. Just a great experience. The song was phenomenal. Juve ended up drawing 1-1 with Cagliari that day. Mirko Vucinic scored the goal for Juve. But it didn't take away from the experience for me. We still won the league that year. And the 1-1 draw didn't really matter. A great experience for me and my brothers just to go. On the way back, I always remember on the way back from the stadium, everybody was jumping onto buses to get back into the city centre. We jumped on this bus that, again, type of thing that you really only see in Italy. There must have been, on a sort of 50 capacity bus, there must have been 200 people on this bus squeezed in. The doors were open, there were people like hanging out of the bus, holding on to the bars inside the bus. And the police at one point stopped. There was 2 policemen at the side of the road, and they stopped the bus. And I thought, I know we're going to all get kicked off the bus here, and we're going to have to work out where, to get another bus from or how to get back to the hotel. And they just walked over and they squeezed on. They squeezed on as well. No rules in Italy. They squeezed on the bus. They just wanted a lift back to the city centre as well. They jumped on with us. And we decided to jump off halfway back. We saw this, a lot of people seemed to get off and go to this bar. And we thought, we'll go to the bar and see what it's like. It seems to be a lot of Juve fans going to this bar. But when we got inside the bar, there was just this kind of strange vibe. Loads of people looking at us. And yeah, we were speaking English, so I suppose they were maybe looking at us thinking, who are these people? But I mean, there are a lot of people who are there to see Juve who are maybe from other countries and things like that. So after a while, I did wonder why we were getting stared at. And then these guys came over and sort of questioned us as to why we were in the bar. It turned out it was like an ultras bar. And these guys just looked really scary. They were like real tough football ultras, and luckily they were obviously Juve fans too. I did fear for my brother Dario, who's an AC Milan fan. If they'd found that out, I think they would have cut his arms off. But in the end, they bought us a coffee and a beer in the bar. And we got some pictures and things in the bar with the ultras, and went on our merry way. So anyway, that was the weekend. That was my wee story today. The song, which I'll play on a separate video, you can click and watch my version of the song. I'm not going to go into like details on the song and the singer. As far as I know, there've been quite a few singers of this song over the years, and I'm not really, I didn't have time to do my homework on this one, unfortunately, and it's not a famous singer that I know. So I cheated a little bit this week. Just a story and a cover version. As I say, the cover version will come up in a minute. But yeah, that's what the song reminds me of. When I hear this song, it just reminds me of like my first experience at the Juve Stadium with my brothers, having an amazing time. And yeah, that's today's episode. That's today's song. So please click on the cover version of the song, like, subscribe, and Forza Juve.